processing disorder. Sometimes my condition makes me feel isolated from other people, but sometimes I find unexpected connections. My guest today is Abby Ekenezer, and like her, I too have struggles with feeling too emotional and feeling uncontrollable emotions, and not having people understand that oftentimes if I'm being set off with a sensory issue, that I cannot control the reaction I have to that sensory issue, and it tends to build up upon itself. So, somebody's perfume might be setting me off, and it's hard for me to ignore that, and then because of the perfume smell, somebody just doing some kind of noise like tapping on something builds on top of that, and that builds on top of that, until I either blow up in anger or I just walk out and walk away. And it's very hard for people to understand that I'm trying to get myself back on a level playing field, but sometimes I can't control that, and I have to release that emotion in ways that some people don't necessarily think is acceptable. But Abby doesn't live with SPD. She lives with post-traumatic stress disorder. Thank you for coming, Abby.
You're welcome.
Can you describe post-traumatic stress disorder, and we're going to shorten it to PTSD,
Yeah.
in your own words?
Oh my god. Well, okay, so there's different forms of PTSD, right? There is PTSD from childhood, there's PTSD from combat, there's PTSD from, non-combat situations where you're still in like a military service. You can get PTSD from anything, nowadays. And I see it as just being in a situation where your mental status cannot handle it, and so it figures out ways to break itself down to handle any, given style situation. So a lot of people will ask me, say, why don't you go out? And it's like, well, because I don't like loud noises anymore. And that's usually gradual too, because you're not going to always emit the same symptoms that you would get, like when you are first experiencing PTSD symptoms. There is a huge array of different symptoms out there that a lot of people don't know about, and they don't realize that it has anything and everything to do with the diagnosis. So it's a lot.
How do you feel PTSD affects you in society?
Oh man. So it's really weird, because the thing with me is that I'm an extremely extroverted person, right? But I do get moments where my PTSD will completely take over. I'll be in situations where I'm in the public, and I think it was actually last year, and I want to say that you were there, and we were at a SIF screening, and one of the films that I got to be a part of the story team was in the SIF, and I loved being there with my friends. When it got to a point that towards the end, I didn't want to deal with talking to anyone. Even on the way here, I didn't feel like being social at all. And I'm like, God, this is not me, But then at the same time, I'm like, this is me, because, this is something that I have to deal with. And when I talk about dealing with it, the beautiful thing is I got the opportunity to see someone for it. And she was beyond amazing when it came to helping me not have to take medication. I hate meds, I hate them with an absolute passion. But because I was active duty and I had a diagnosis, I had to be on medication, because that's just how it was in the early 2000s. So when I got my diagnosis and when I talked to her about it, she pretty much said that if there is any way to find a safe space for you, whether it's, mentally or physically, then try to put yourself there, because that's the only way, unless you want to take medication, that'll probably help you. And it sucks because it hinders a lot of the things that I want to do. You know, like, I'm currently writing a story and I do not have any creative prowess to do it. And it's not even like a mental block. It's just not having the energy, like not having the excitement to want to do it. And that goes along with like wanting to go to my friend's birthday last night. You know, I just was emotionally drained and I didn't even really deal with too many emotions because I didn't really deal with too many people. But my body, my physicality was in constant, was at constant war with my mental status. And it was just like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to do anything today, whether you like it or not. Which is weird because I'm not usually like that. But a lot of people don't know that, you know, those are some of the struggles that some of the really funny people, or the people who try to make everybody happy, like, have to deal with. So,
what do you feel is important for people to know about people with PTSD?
Oh goodness. Okay, for me, it is really hard. It's really hard for me to come out and say, hey, I need help. I won't do it. I'll never do it because that's just how I am. And I get to a point where it builds up so much that I can't control it. And the only way I can deal with it is to either just completely isolate myself or just sleep and hope that when I wake up that, you know, some of that anxiety or some of that stress will be gone. It got so bad to a point too, actually. This was before NoWestCon, so it was, I want to say, maybe about 4 weeks ago. And I had a situation that was just an actual break, and I had a waking dream where my son was reading my obituary. And that was like a huge turn for me because I could never ever see myself doing anything that would be scary like that. But the fact that I was thinking about it, because it wasn't even a dream, it was like a waking dream. Like I was awake and I was having this dream. So that's where the point where, like, you know, I was talking to friends about it and they were like, you know, I'm here for you for anything. And I'm like, that's not the point. Like, that's not what I'm asking for. I don't even know what I'm asking for. I feel like I just need to say something, because if I said something, maybe it wouldn't just be in my head anymore and it'd be gone, you know? It's what I see so many people that talk about, you know, suicide awareness and talking to friends if they need help, or don't ever think that you're alone. But like when you're in that state of mind, it's really hard to think about outside forces saying all of that, and you coming to a point where you're like, oh, well, I have friends that will, you know, make sure that I'm okay, because that's not what you're thinking about. You know, you're thinking about just stopping the hate, the hurt, and that's it. And it's really hard to you know, have to think about that without trying to not seem like you're being depressive, you know, or like people think that you're like an at risk or something. You know, it's one of those things that it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just like a pessimist on that side. Like I have my really, really major optimist side, but then I have my pessimist side where I'm just like, let me just wallow in my misery for a little bit or for like a long time, because I just need that right now. You know, I'm so on so much, and I feel like for me it's all of the time, that there are some times where I just need to not be that way. I got a chance to meet like this amazing acting coach in Vancouver, and there was, you know, he was this super boisterous person, And then we had this 2-week intensive class, right, acting every single day. And after the end of the class, I went back because I wanted to get like a picture with him, right? It was a monumental experience for me. And it just helped my self-worth a little bit more, especially talking to people that are there and how they interact with like people of color and stuff. And so I found him in this like dark room, like the lights were off. It was our classroom though, but all the lights were off, and he was sitting in his chair with his little like 13-year-old chihuahua. And he was just like stroking the head, right, like some evil genius kind of thing. And I come and I'm like, hey, can I get a photo, right? Because I don't want to say his name, but and he like turned right back on again, right? Just got up. He's like, yeah, sure, of course we can take a photo. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, holy crap, here's this person who everyone looks up to. And he has to have his moments too, and it's okay, to have moments like that. And I think actually, like, after like even the whole class, that was probably the most profound moment for me, which is stupid. But it's just like, look, it can affect anybody, and you don't have to like feel bad when you're going through this stuff. So, yeah, it's one of those situations where I'm just like, I have my symptoms and I know what I need to do to deal with them, and eventually I will get to do that. as you already know some of my situation, but yeah, I'm trying to deal with it as much as possible. So
do you feel frustrated about like having to put on a show?
Yes and no. Yes, because I'll have moments where I'm on a project and all of a sudden I'll just feel it creeping, right? You feel that pit, that thing in the pit of your stomach, and it's trying to drag you down, right? And you're like, God, no, not now. Please don't do this, not now. And it's like, it's so hard to deal with it. I usually tell myself, like, I'm doing something that I want to do. I'm doing something that excites me and that I'm happy doing, and I'm not in a place that frustrates me and stresses me out, right? So it's one of those things where it's like trying to combat it when the symptoms are like actually happening. It's hard, and that's what makes it frustrating. I do have my moments where, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm bipolar, because I'll get points where I'm just like ridiculously happy and I have no idea why I'm happy. I've gotten to a point now where like almost every single like Code Black episode I've seen, I've cried, or This Is Us, but I think This Is Us makes everybody cry. So, but I'll just be watching random TV shows, and I'll just, like just some whatever weird moment on there, and I'll just start sobbing. And it's kind of like annoying as hell because you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I doing this? And so yeah, there are definitely moments where it's frustrating. It's also frustrating for me to feel like I need to always be that happy person for other people. Like, people see me and they're like, oh my God, Abby, you're so exciting, and you have this like aura about you, and you're like, oh my God, I want to be your friend. And I'm like, I don't need any more friends. Not to be like rude, but I don't need any more friends. I really don't. I don't want to spend more of my energy into somebody, and it is nothing against you. I'm old, and I can't anymore. My bones are breaking, you know, like I'm over here shopping for walking sticks. Like, you know, I feel like I'm at that point right now, and so it's like, and then I get the question like, well, like if you're so like depressed, then why are you doing all this stuff? I'm like, I'm doing this stuff because I'm depressed. Like this stuff makes me happy. The side stuff, you know, when you don't have work stress on top of relationship or personal life or family stress, you know, I get to be able to go and do something that I'm excited about doing. And so deal with it or don't talk to me anymore.
Do you feel it's important for somebody with PTSD to have a consistent person to talk to?
See, like I said, that's hard for me because I'm not the kind of person that wants to go and talk to people. I'm just not. You know, like I'm not the person that feels like I need to put my burden on somebody else or make in the way that I was, I don't want to say raised, but in what we were like conditioned, right? We don't want to show vulnerability. And so it's really hard for me to talk about personal stuff to other people unless it's family. And then it's hard with family because my family is not like me. You know, my family, I love them to death, but they are a lot of the most closed-minded people I've met in my entire life. And so it's really hard to have like an open conversation with them because you're constantly worried that they're going to shun you or something. So I can't say yes and no because I know it works for me, but it might not be the same thing for other people. Like as a PTSD counselor, way back when, and I do it sometimes, but I'm like, I have to create my own space first before I'm able to help anybody else. But when I did have my own space before, as a counselor, you know, people would feel like they needed to come talk to me or they need to come talk to anybody. And that is good, you know, but for myself, it's really hard for me to even spark a conversation with someone about my own issues unless someone literally drags it out of me.
Do you feel like this is something that will constantly be there the rest of your life? Is it something that will go away, or does it ebb and flow?
No, you know what? I think it ebbs and it flows. You know, there are some moments, like I said, that I was good. You know, I didn't have symptoms for years, and then our climate changed, and because climate change is real. And you know, I have the situation that I'm in right now, and I get the symptoms every single day. There's something, anything, constantly throwing it off, where my emotions are raw. They're so raw that maybe that has to do with why I'm crying in every single episode of the show. But you know, it gets to a point where it's like, it's hard because you don't want to feel like you're an invalid, and I feel like I'm an invalid. You know, I have moments where I feel like I'm never going to be good enough for my kid, and he's this super smart individual who I have no freaking clue how he became my son. I keep telling him I think he switched at birth because there's no possible way. Like he's so smart, and I can't even be any prouder of someone. But you know, there's this thing where it's like I keep telling myself deep down inside there's a little voice that says I don't deserve him. There's another voice that says I don't deserve to have the friends that I have, and I don't deserve to you know, look forward to, you know, having like all the things that I feel like that I have, or have the projects that I'm going to be working on. And it sucks, it really does, but you know, it's one of those things that, like, with Chris, he is a grounding force, and he is literally keeping me standing. He's the main thing that I've got keeping me standing, and I appreciate him so much for that. Not that he should feel like it's too much.
So do you feel, is there certain situations where you go back and revisit what caused your PTSD and like play the what if game?
Well, I have nightmares of it almost every single night. And it's literally just my chief being a fucking idiot and not telling us to put our Kevlar and our helmets on and run to a place where we're not going to get shot in the head or blown up. You know, and it's dreams like that, like over and over again, and seeing people blown up or hearing the sounds, and then at the end of all of that, just seeing coffins being taken away every single day. And it's vivid because I think about it. If it's not every day, it's every other day. So,
is there anything else that you think is relative to like creating empathy in people or creating more patience in people with PTSD?
Yeah, I think patience is number one. It's so key because PTSD is a thing. Like I for the longest time when I had the symptoms, my family wouldn't believe it. You know, my mom's the kind of person where she thinks like the devil is inside you, and that's why you have whatever mental issues you do, or that's why you're doing whatever things you're doing. But you know, I mean, having dreams and having anxiety and panic attacks and memory issues, and just having this like sinking feeling that you just don't want to live anymore, or having this sinking feeling that you want to just go and hurt whoever's next to you because like any little tiny thing that they do is just it's bad. You know, it's not good. And if there was a cure, I would be the first person in line to take it. But I think we're a long way from that because people are still trying to understand it, you know, and it is one of those things that we like to deny that anything is ever wrong with us for a long time. And I was in a lot of denial, you know, and I didn't appreciate feeling that I needed to be medicated because sometimes medication harms than, you know, it does more harm than good. So yeah, you know, it's one of those things that like I feel like as long as we keep studying it and people are aware and people understand, and that, you know, with that understanding comes a lot of time and patience, I think that people will finally get to a point where they can just not stress out as much as they are silently.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching Connection. I hope that these conversations show everyone that no matter what we face, no matter what differences we have, we can find common ground. Ultimately, we're all connected.